I had two. Like if you read the captions in my stuff, because I don't know y'all do, but if you read one of my pictures, the captions in my pictures, like let's talk about this. I had two wedding dates this year, and I'm not married yet. Like this is just the ring. I don't got the band. I'm not married yet. I ain't changed my last name yet. I haven't gotten my dress and walked down the aisle yet. I'm like, should I feel some type of way? I mean, even though I know it's COVID and everybody's like, it's COVID, so you can't really be mad. But I'm just like, I've had two wedding dates. And if I plan another wedding date in this year of 20, then, and I don't get married, I think I'm gonna have a talk with God. Like, I'm really gonna say, Jesus, like, we need to fix this because this ain't right. Like, this isn't right. Like, I'm not liking it. And so, I can say that, the process of actually planning the wedding has been stressful. Like, not stressful in the way of like, oh, it's a wedding, it's stressful. It's just stressful to the point where it's like, oh my God, I don't want to have a wedding anymore. And so, think about it. So like let me tell you the story. All right. So the original date that we were going to get married was September 5th, 2020. And so I had a few friends who were like, who found out they were pregnant and everything. And then one of my friends, we both got engaged the same week, like 2 days from each other, right? And so she was planning her wedding in the first or second week of September because her birthday's around there. So I was like, oh, okay, well, we picked Labor Day because we wanted it to be a party. We wanted it to be family. Like, we wanted it to be barbecue, or I was going with like occasion theme. And so, yeah, I'm literally just talking. And if you watch it, you watch it. If you don't, I love you anyway. And so what ends up happening is, so like, I was like, well, because of like our living situations, I was kind of like, well, I just felt like this pressure or this need to be super, super holy and make sure that we're right before God. And so I was like, oh, well, let's move it up to March. And I'm like, well, I love spring, so let's move it to March. And so I was like, ooh, the first day of spring is March 21st. So I was like, oh, we'll get married March 21st, 2020. So listen, girl, listen, whoever watches this, listen. I found the venue and everything, and what ended up happening was the little nice old lady. Her name is Joyce, but I call her Auntie Joyce because she's so old and she's trying to tell you what to do, and I'm just like, you can't tell me what to do. I mean, you can, but I'm paying to be here. Like, you can't just tell me exactly. Like, you can't tell me how to do my wedding, right? And so Auntie Joyce, she basically was like, oh, I'm so concerned about you using the venue in March because out here in the Bay Area, supposedly it rains in March. And I'm like, all my life, I don't, like when people are like, oh, it rains in January. My birthday is January 17th. Honey, I don't remember it raining ever. Like, it's never, for me, it has never rained. And if it's rained, it's only for a little bit. And so we were going to get married at this museum, right? It was 100 years old. It was in Vallejo. That's where I'm from, Bay Area. What's up, E40? And it was like, it had like a really nice color. Like, it was just old. Like, it just gave me that rustic, because I was doing rustic glam, right? So it was like rustic glam. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be perfect. So the old lady, Auntie Joyce, was like, hey, she was like, I'm concerned that it's going to rain in March. And so I'm like, well, we don't know that yet. So Auntie Joyce, that's the old lady who worked at the museum, y'all. And so Auntie Joyce was just a little old cute little white lady. So I call her Auntie Joyce. She's like an auntie. I should call her Nana, but I don't want her to be my Nana. I want her to be my auntie. And so, yeah, so she was saying like, oh, I'm afraid it's going to rain in March. And so I'm like, well, why did you why did you say it was okay for me to book this date if you knew it was going to rain? And then, girl, why they got holes at the top of this museum that I was going to get married at? It got like, they said the roof was leaky. And so if it rains, they have to put buckets. And I'm like, but why would you allow me to book this place if you knew that there's a potential of rain and needing buckets in the middle of my reception? So I was like, all right. So that was stressful because I didn't know, and I was like unsure. And so like we kept planning, we kept planning. Then it's like I had, so at first, like, listen, first I started off with how many bridesmaids? 8. I have 8 bridesmaids at first. He had 8 groomsmen. And so then, like I said, one bridesmaid ended up getting pregnant, and then I replaced her with somebody else. Then that bridesmaid wasn't really like answering phone calls, text messages, our group messages, and I'm like, what? Why did you accept to even be my bridesmaid? And so like I'm saying, like the whole process of getting me married by March 21st was hell. Like it was like the worst process ever. Like me trying to get married by March like of this year was horrible. Like how do you rent out a venue and you're talking about these elites? I'm like, what is that? Then secondly, my bridesmaids, I love y'all if y'all see this, but some of you guys were horrible. Like some of you guys were not my favorite, okay? And so it was like, dang, like every time I was trying to get my bridesmaids together, they had a whole life. Like I get you got a life, but when I made cute little boxes. I ran around, I was searching on Pinterest. And so like I ran around, made cute little boxes. I like wrote out a whole letter. Well, let's talk about this friend that I had from childhood. See, I'm like, now y'all, like I'm really about to get this off my chest because I really have thought about this, and I'm like, this wedding stuff was really stressful. And so I'll have a positive in it. I ran around, I had 8 ladies and everything, and I ran around, I made boxes. Now, I had asked like this friend of mine from many, many years ago, and y'all, like, she sent me her address. I was trying to get her to come to our engagement party because that's when I was going to present all of the wedding stuff. And so what ended up happening was I didn't get a response from her. I didn't get a response from a few people. Then, like I said, one of my friends told me that she was pregnant, who was going to be my matron of honor. And I was kind of like, I love you, but I'm not necessarily interested in having a pregnant bridesmaid or a matron of honor. Like, yeah, I was being rude. I feel like, well, that wasn't rude, but that was just my preference. I didn't want a pregnant person because with all the fun stuff and moving around and then being in the dress, like the color I wanted from what I talked to the bridal people, like the bridal place, not the bridal shower, but the bridal store, they were saying that the color I wanted, basically the bridal store was like, oh, the color that I want, basically I needed to like order it early. And so with her being pregnant and our color being rare, I was like, I don't want a pregnant person. So what ended up happening was, like I said, I had to call every lady that I wanted to be a bridesmaid, and I was like, hey, I'm going to do this at the engagement party, but obviously a lot of you guys are not coming, and obviously, yeah, like I was really salty. Like I'm saying, like this wedding process, us having 2 dates and us not getting married, and if I pick another date and we don't get married, I think I'm gonna have a problem. And it's just gonna be me. I'm really gonna have a big problem. Like I'm really gonna talk to God and be like, look, Jesus, I'm really gonna need you to get your stuff together. I know I shouldn't talk to God that way, but that's what I'm really like, that's how I feel like I want to talk to God. Like, look, bro, like you let him propose to me. I've been engaged for like a year now, but we need to get married because I'm trying to have some babies. Like, but I want babies when I'm married. Anywho, let me get on topic. Let me talk about this wedding stuff, right? And so, yeah, so basically I was telling you about the girl who I sent her like an invitation. She didn't respond. I had to reach out to people. She didn't respond. So I'm like, I had to basically rip up her, the letter that I hand wrote the invitations to these people to be our groomsmen and our bridesmaid. I wrote a cute little saying. It was so cute to me, at least. And so I spent all my little monies, like, and I prepared for this for weeks. So I made boxes and everything, and I invited them. I told them how grateful I am. I told them their position. I had the colors. I had like face mask and lipstick that I wanted us to wear on my bachelorette party and all this stuff. So I had all that stuff together, and she didn't answer. And so that really hurt my feelings. And so I kind of was like, you're still invited, but you're definitely never going to be reconsidered for anything else. So I don't really know her story, or why she didn't why she didn't call me, or why she didn't say anything to me. But we shall never know. Why? Because I'm not going to ask her. I don't care anymore. And so anyway, so leading up to that, like I love my bridesmaids, but they were really difficult for me. Like, girl, man, bro. We had like a Pinterest board, and these women had all these ideas for dresses, and I'm just like, we just need 1 to 3 simple styles for different body shapes, and we don't need all this other stuff, right? And so they had like 10, 15 dresses in this Pinterest board. Then we narrowed it down to 6. Then we narrowed it down to 3. Then I eventually was like, F it, and all y'all can get your own dress. Like, same color, different styles. So that happened. Then I found my dress at one place, you know, and so it's just like different stuff was happening. And so what ended up happening was that was really stressful to me. And then like personal things and, you know, just relationship stuff, like not even relationship stuff. Like we have mastered communicating and really just rocking with each other through tough stuff, right? And so through tough stuff. And I'm just like, I'm talking about my wedding. I'm talking about my wedding process and how I've had 2 wedding dates, but I ain't been married yet in this year. And I'm just like, if I plan another one, me and God gonna have to box because I want to be in my dress. And I'm talking about how my bridesmaids were like, they weren't horrible, but they weren't like they did not make this fun. Like, I love each and every one of them individually, and I love them collectively, and they are some of my closest friends and family members and everything. They've been real solid, but I'm like, oh my goodness, they gave me like hell. Like they don't think it's probably hell, but I was like really nice, and I could have been a bridezilla. I should have been one, but I wasn't. Then it'll make more sense why they were annoying. I mean, not annoying, but why it just didn't feel like, I didn't feel supported half the time. So basically, like I was saying, like we had this old museum in my hometown. The lady telling me if it rains in March, because my first day was March 21st, she's like, oh, you have to do something else. Then I'm like, but why did you let us book for this date? So then it was like, in the process, like my brother passed away, and I was just feeling like all this pressure, and I wasn't feeling supported. Then in the middle of that, like, love my sister. If she sees this, I love you. But like her and I got into it. So she was my maid of honor. And then she was also like helping me wedding plan. And so now I didn't have that anymore. So then I had to switch. And so I basically did 2 roles. Like, well, basically I like had 2 people fill the role. So I did a maid and a matron of honor again. And I'm just like, it was great, but their lives were so busy. So then I was just getting so frustrated. And then we moved the date. So think about this. I was like my coworkers were very helpful, and they were like, oh, you got to get out the save the dates. Oh, you got to get out this. Oh, you got to do that. So I finally got out the save the dates, and they were cute little magnets. I would go up and show you, but I don't want to. They're cute little magnets. And basically, like, I changed the date after I sent out the save the dates. Well, I wasted some money. That pissed me off. That pissed me off. Like, I wasted money. It pissed me off. And then we moved it to May 16th. I was like, oh, this will be so beautiful because I'm into numbers. I'm like, yes, it'll be hotter. Yes, closer to the summer. All the kids will be out. And then I'm like, yes. What else was I like? Oh, then I'm like, yes, I'm into numbers. So our anniversary is 4/16. Oh, 4/16, oh, 4. Oh, that means creativity, open doors, and 16 means love. And I was just so like, oh, 4/16. Then so I was like, well, let's pick 5/16. Oh, the number of grace and love, and we're having grace and love. But baby, where are we at right now? COVID-19. Staying in place. And we were supposed to get our marriage license in April. Do you think we have that? Because we could have got married in the backyard of somebody's house through Zoom. But we didn't get that because we were expecting to be married in May. May is here. Our wedding date is here. And I am still Jasmine Edwards. I am not somebody else. So, yeah. That was how I ended up not. Oh, and basically because we don't know. So like, look, that venue. So this is what we have. Let me fill in some other stuff. So like, in that venue, we had the museum for the reception and this super old, like it's 100-year-old chapel for the ceremony. I was like, oh, rustic glam, oh, it's so beautiful. And so like we had that. So then after a while, I was like, okay, well, this is becoming too much because it's too many logistics I have to do, and I didn't have enough people. Like I said, people weren't really helping me like they said they was gonna do. And so, like, after that, we shut the chapel down, and we just did the museum. So we're going to do everything in the museum, like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, have a night service, and then move on. And then after that, it was just kind of like, okay, cool. And I got a decorator, and she was really helpful, blah, blah, blah. But then we moved the date, and then it was like, okay, we got more time. But after that, like I said, I lost my brother. Like I quit my job. Then COVID-19 happened. And then I'm just to the point where it's like, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, I don't want to, it's not that I don't want my marriage. It's, I didn't want this wedding. So me and my matron and my maid of honor I came up with this great idea, and they basically agreed because they're tired of me going back and forth. And I was just like, let's just start all over. I was like, return your dresses. We'll change the colors. Start over. The love is strong. But just pray for me. Pray that I can get this wedding stuff together. Pray that I'm able to pick up. Because a part of me is like, why don't I just go back to my original date? What was it? September 5th, 2020. Like, go back to that original date. Maybe God has a special plan for that date. But I don't know when we're going to be open. And guess what? I have nothing planned. So, I'm not going to have no wedding. Maybe not this year. Maybe next year will be better. Maybe we'll just go down to the courthouse. And we'll just sneak. And we don't tell anybody. And the next thing you know, they'll be calling me something totally different. And that was the end of my first live. I have nothing else to talk about. Like, I talked about the show I liked and how it pissed me off, and I just wanted to talk to you about my wedding because I've had 2 wedding dates and I'm not married yet. Should I plan a third? Should I have a backyard shindig for like 5, like just have people just drive by and see me in my dress? That's boring. I don't want that. That sounds cool. Like, oh, we had it. No, I want to turn up. I want to drink a little bit. I want to listen to the windows to the wall. I want to listen to old school music. I want to see the old people dancing. I want to see the kids dancing. I want to see me and my husband dancing. I want the picture. I want all that. I want all that, and not like if you saw my post where I was saying like the dress that one dress I tried on it's not my dress. I haven't shared my dress with you guys. But if you get in my group, I made a post or I shared a picture of it. But anyway, before my phone dies, because I think it's gonna die soon, so I'll be done. But anyway, so like I was saying, that it just, I don't know. I really want those memories. I want to look back, and I don't want to be like, oh, in 10 years or 5 years, and we'll have another ceremony. No, because I've seen people, if you don't have the money saved and planned, I've seen people say, oh, we're going to do it. And then next, they're 30 years married and they've never had a ceremony. And I love this relationship so much that I believe that he and I both deserve to have that one moment where we like turn back from everything else and we really look forward as a unit. Because you know what? We've been doing that from day one. Like, not day one, maybe like month 2, because I didn't like him from day one. I'll get on live and tell you about that on what? I think I'm coming back live on, today's Tuesday, Thursday. So I'm trying to come live twice a week. And I'll tell you why I did not really like him. Like, he cool now. I mean, he watching, I think. He knows it. And yeah. That was the end of my first live. And if you are interested in joining my mailing list, my link is in the bio. Oh, and I'm doing this thing where I'm going to have a sign-up sheet. And if you would like an autographed copy of my book, you will be able to just PayPal me directly. And I also have coaching calls that are available and open. And if you look in my link tree, you'll be able to purchase my book without my signature. And you'll be able to get in my Facebook group. As if you're a woman, no men. If you're a woman, get in my Facebook group. You get on my mailing list as a woman. And yeah, so that was sort of kind of fun, a little bit fun. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm probably talking to my future husband. But if I'm not, I'll see you in a second. All right, bye-bye.